How is your life today? If you had the power to change something with a snap of your fingers like Thanos in the movie Avengers, Infinity War, what would be your first action? I guarantee that at some point you wished you had this power. But let's face reality and leave the snap of fingers to fiction. And to change our realities today, we must first have a change of mindset. Your mindset is made up of a set of beliefs and attitudes that have been ingrained throughout your life. Changing the way you think is challenging because, over the years, you have internalized beliefs that may not be true, often influenced by your parents, friends, or society. However, transforming your mindset is not just about repeating mantras or wishing that the universe will bring miraculous changes. True change comes with consistent action. Without action, any transformation will be superficial and empty. From childhood, we are constantly influenced by various sources. Our parents, friends, teachers, the community we live in, and even the culture around us. These influences shape the way we see the world, ourselves, and the possibilities we believe are viable. As much as these beliefs may seem like absolute truths, they are often nothing more than subjective constructions, deeply rooted in narratives that have been passed down to us, and that we rarely question. Changing the way we think is one of the most challenging tasks we can face. The process of transforming our mindset requires careful introspection and, above all, courage. This is because, in order to change the way we think, we need to confront truths that we believe to be unquestionable. Imagine, for example, that you grew up hearing that success is reserved only for those who sacrifice themselves to the point of exhaustion, or that opportunities are scarce, and life, by definition, is hard and unfair. These ideas, which may seem like simple facts, shape not only our expectations, but also our actions, or lack thereof. Internalizing these beliefs can lead us to self-imposed limits that restrict our potential, as if we were trapped in a cage whose bars we ourselves have reinforced over the years. However, transforming this mindset is not a matter of magic or luck. It is not enough to repeat mantras, visualize goals, or trust that the universe will fulfill our desires just because we ask for it. While these practices may have symbolic value, they alone are not enough to bring about genuine change. True transformation requires active effort and consistent action. It is necessary to go beyond words and enter a realm of practice and realization. Without actions to support the new beliefs we wish to adopt, any attempt at change will be superficial, temporary, and devoid of real impact. Imagine that you want to adopt the mindset of someone who believes in their own potential for growth. You can start by affirming to yourself daily that you are capable of overcoming challenges and achieving your goals. However, if these affirmations are not accompanied by concrete actions that reinforce this belief, such as seeking to learn something new, facing your fears, or investing in your education, they will quickly become empty words. It is like planting a seed and not watering it. The intention is there, but the lack of action prevents anything from blossoming. This process of changing your mindset also requires patience and a high degree of self-compassion. After all, we are dealing with deeply ingrained mental patterns that have been formed over years, perhaps decades. They won't disappear overnight. Often, it's necessary to revisit the origins of these beliefs, understand why we believe them, and, most importantly, consciously decide to replace them with others that encourage us to live in a way that's more aligned with our values and goals. Another key point is to understand that mindsets are shaped not only by what we think, but also by what we do. True change occurs when we consistently adjust our attitudes and behaviors. For example, if you believe you can reach a new level in your career, you should start acting like someone who's already on that path. Dedicating yourself to developing new skills, seeking opportunities, and cultivating a network of contacts that support you on this journey. These actions reinforce the new mindset, creating a virtuous cycle where belief and behavior feed off each other. In addition, it's important to remember that changing your mindset doesn't mean denying or erasing the past. On the contrary, it's about recognizing what you've learned, evaluating what makes sense to carry with you, and letting go of what no longer serves your growth. It's a process of conscious selection, where you take charge of what you want to believe and how you want to act, rather than simply reacting to circumstances. Therefore, changing your mindset is a journey of self-knowledge, courage, and action. It's not about expecting miracles or easy solutions, but about taking responsibility for your life and your choices. It's an ongoing commitment to align your thoughts with your actions, so that your beliefs and attitudes work for you, not against you. And most of all, it's a reminder that no matter where you are right now, there's always room for growth and transformation. With determination, patience, and a dose of boldness, it's possible to rewrite the story you tell yourself, and with it, the story you live. Here are 10 mindset shifts that can revolutionize your life. 1. From "I have to do this" to "I can do this." Changing your mindset is one of the most powerful tools for transforming our perception of life and everyday situations. Too often, we view tasks and responsibilities as unavoidable burdens, as something we have to do to simply survive or fulfill obligations. This approach, however, can lead to a feeling of constant burnout and dissatisfaction, sapping our energy and motivation. Replacing the mindset of "I have to do this" with "I can do this" may seem like a subtle shift, but in practice, it is a profound restructuring of the way we view our opportunities and challenges. When you transform tasks into opportunities, you open up space to see the positive and even enriching side of your responsibilities. For example, imagine that you are overwhelmed with a project at work. The "I have to do this" mindset tends to emphasize the weight of the obligation, the effort required, and the difficulties that may arise. In this state of mind, it is common to feel anxiety, resistance, and even a little discouragement before even starting. Now, by shifting your mindset to "I can do this," you put yourself in a position of choice and power. This project, which previously seemed like a burden, can be reinterpreted as an opportunity to learn, grow, and even showcase your skills. Suddenly, what was once seen as an obligation becomes a privilege, a chance to do something meaningful that can open doors to other accomplishments in the future. This kind of mindset shift can also profoundly impact how we approach personal challenges. For example, consider someone who wants to learn a new skill, such as playing a musical instrument or improving their fitness. With the "I have to do this" mindset, each practice or trip to the gym can feel like a chore, something to cross off the list of things to do. It's easy to give up at the first hurdle, because the journey seems overwhelming and boring. However, when you adopt the "I can do this" mindset, each workout or practice session becomes an opportunity to explore your capabilities, connect with your goals, and eventually celebrate small victories along the way. To illustrate this, consider the example of someone who has to prepare an important presentation at work. With the "I have to do this" mindset, people may feel pressured and even resentful about having to spend hours creating slides, researching data, and rehearsing their speech. This can lead to procrastination and make them see the task as something purely exhausting. However, if they decide to shift their mindset to "I can do this," their perspective changes completely. They may see this presentation as a unique opportunity to demonstrate their value to the team, share their knowledge, and perhaps open doors to promotions or new responsibilities. Work stops being a burden and becomes a springboard for professional growth. Another practical example can be found in household chores, such as organizing the house. With the "I have to do this" mindset, it is common for people to view cleaning and tidying as a punishment or an obligation that takes up precious time. This can lead to frustration and an unpleasant experience. But by shifting to "I can do this," the same task can be seen in a new light, as an opportunity to take care of the space where they live, creating a more welcoming and pleasant environment. Suddenly, cleaning the house becomes a gesture of self-love and self-care, something that directly contributes to your well-being and quality of life. When we approach work and challenges with gratitude and empathy, we realize that many of the obstacles that once seemed insurmountable are actually more manageable than we thought. This shift in perspective doesn't eliminate difficulties, but it helps us face them in a more lighthearted and productive way, transforming what could be a source of stress into a source of satisfaction and fulfillment. The key is how we choose to look at situations, with a mindset of resistance or with an attitude of openness and willingness to learn and grow. Turn tasks into opportunities. Working on a project, improving a skill, or facing challenges are privileges, not punishments. Approach work with gratitude and empathy, and you'll realize that obstacles were less daunting than they seemed. From "it's impossible" to "there must be a way." The mindset that adopts the belief that something is impossible can be incredibly limiting, creating invisible barriers that prevent us from exploring our true potential. When we hold on to this idea, we are essentially declaring that it is not worth trying, that the resources available are insufficient, or that the challenge is too great to overcome. However, by shifting our thinking to "there must be a way," we open a door to possibilities, explore solutions, and activate our creativity. This shift in mindset takes us out of a position of passivity and puts us in control, allowing us to believe that, although the path may be difficult, it is achievable. Often, the impossible is simply a matter of lack of information, trying, or persistence. For example, imagine a person who has never learned to cook and has always relied on restaurants or ready-made foods. When asked to prepare a special dinner for the family, they might immediately think, "That's impossible. I can't cook. I have no talent for it." This type of thinking paralyzes them before they even try, perpetuating the idea that their limitations are definitive. But by shifting their thinking to "there must be a way," They open up space to explore solutions. They might look for tutorials online, ask someone with more experience for help, or even start with simple recipes. This mindset of seeking possibilities transforms a task that seemed daunting into a learning and achievement experience. In the end, in addition to preparing dinner, she discovers that cooking can be simpler and more enjoyable than she imagined, something that she may incorporate into her routine in the future. Another practical example occurs in the financial sphere. Imagine a person who is going through financial difficulties and needs to find a way to earn extra money to pay off a debt or achieve an important goal, such as paying for a course or trip. With the mindset of "it's impossible," this person may feel stagnant, believing that there are no viable options to improve their situation. This generates frustration, discouragement, and a feeling of helplessness. However, by changing their perspective to "there must be a way," they begin to explore alternatives. Selling something they no longer use, looking for temporary work, offering a service based on their skills, or even learning something new that can generate income. This approach, although challenging, transforms the feeling of helplessness into practical action and initiative. It is worth remembering that we live in the most abundant time in history, with access to information, tools, and resources like never before. The internet, for example, makes an infinite amount of knowledge and possibilities available. We can learn new skills, connect with people from different parts of the world, and find creative solutions to various challenges. When we look beyond the obstacles and understand the processes that can lead us to our goal, we discover that many of the limits that we considered insurmountable are, in fact, the result of limiting beliefs. When we adopt the mindset that "there must be a way," we activate a more proactive stance, which challenges us to seek alternatives and keeps us resilient in the face of difficulties. This does not mean that the path will always be easy or that we will not face frustrations along the way. It does mean that we choose to see challenges as opportunities for learning and growth. Changing our mindset does not eliminate obstacles, but it gives us the tools to deal with them more effectively and optimistically. What once seemed impossible begins to unfold like a puzzle, where each piece found brings us closer to the solution. 3. From "I need it to be perfect" to "I need it done." The relentless pursuit of perfection can be one of the biggest obstacles to progress. When we get caught up in the idea that something is only worthwhile if it is flawless, we end up paralyzing ourselves in the face of possibilities, afraid of failing or failing to meet an often unrealistic standard. This perfectionism creates invisible barriers, delaying projects, decisions, and learning. The truth is that perfection is rarely achievable and often not even necessary. On the other hand, the simple act of completing something, even if imperfect, propels us forward and gives us the opportunity to gradually improve. Progress does not come from absolute idealism, but from practice, trial, and continual action. Imagine, for example, a person who wants to start a small business selling crafts. They have amazing ideas, but they spend months planning, tweaking, and postponing the launch because they want everything to be perfect. The flawless website, the stunning packaging, the absolutely flawless product. Meanwhile, the opportunity to get started and learn along the way is being wasted. If instead, she shifted her mindset to "I need it done," she could take the first step, launch a product with the features available, and then, based on customer feedback and experience, make adjustments as needed. Maybe the website isn't the ideal design or the packaging needs improvement, but most importantly, the business is up and running and learning is happening. Improvements will come naturally over time. Another common example is students or professionals who have to turn in an assignment, be it an essay, a report, or a presentation. How many times have we come across someone who procrastinates until the last minute, obsessively reviewing every detail because they feel like their work isn't good enough yet? This pursuit of perfection often leads to stress, delays, or even failure to deliver if the person gives up altogether. By adopting the "I need it done" mindset, the focus shifts from ideation to execution. The delivery may not be perfect, but it is a starting point, something concrete that can be refined or improved in future versions. Plus, the simple act of completing something builds confidence and eases the burden of procrastination. This shift in perspective is powerful because it values movement over stagnation. When we accept that progress is more important than perfection, we allow ourselves to act with more freedom and less fear of failure. Perfection is often an illusion created by unrealistic comparisons or external pressure, whereas action is something we can control and do in the present. Completing a task, even if imperfect, gives us the opportunity to learn from our mistakes, adjust as necessary, and move forward. It is through this cycle of trying and improving that true growth occurs. So instead of waiting for everything to be perfect before taking action, remember that done is better than perfect. Completing something, no matter how simple, is a step forward toward your goals. It is better to have an idea in action than an idealized idea that never got off the ground. Progress comes from courageous decisions, from starting even when we don't feel fully prepared, and from accepting that each step, no matter how small, takes us closer to what we seek to achieve. From "I'll never be able to do it" to "How can I make it happen?" Believing that "I'll never be able to do it" is one of the most common ways to self-sabotage. This type of thinking creates a mental block that prevents us from even trying, because we already assume that failure is inevitable. This attitude, in addition to paralyzing us, reinforces the idea that we are incapable, leading to a cycle of inaction and frustration. However, changing our perspective to "How can I make it happen?" transforms the way we face challenges. This change takes us out of passivity and puts us in a state of curiosity and planning, making room for action and learning. When we replace the word never with how, we take on the role of protagonists in the search for solutions, and this brings us closer to our goals. Imagine someone who has always wanted to learn a new language, such as English, but keeps saying, "I'll never be able to speak it fluently. It's too hard. I don't have the talent for it." This belief prevents them from starting, because the idea that it will be a failure discourages them before they even try. However, by shifting the mindset to "How can I make this happen?" this person begins to explore possibilities. They might research learning apps, enroll in an in-person or online course, or even seek out conversation partners. With this approach, the focus shifts from the fear of failure to the search for tools and strategies that make learning achievable. Little by little, they realize that fluency does not come from innate talent, but from the commitment to consistent practice, and what seemed impossible becomes a tangible achievement. Another example is someone who wants to start their own business, but feels that financial difficulties and lack of experience make this goal unattainable. With the perspective of "I will never do it," this person may convince themselves that there is no point in even planning, because the challenges seem insurmountable. But by shifting the question to "How can I make this happen?" new opportunities begin to emerge. For example, they might start researching ventures that require a low initial investment, seek out mentors who can guide them, or even use their current skills to offer simple services and gradually grow. This shift in perspective doesn't eliminate challenges, but it does encourage you to seek out paths that you might not have considered before. With dedication, planning, and action, you can turn what seemed impossible into something concrete. This shift in mindset also highlights a crucial difference between wishing for something and actually working toward it. While many people spend their lives just dreaming, successful people ask themselves how, make plans, and keep moving forward despite challenges. This active approach not only drives progress, but also builds resilience, creativity, and the ability to adapt to new circumstances. By asking yourself, "How can I make this happen?" you train your mind to seek solutions, even when the path isn't immediately clear. This habit, when cultivated, turns challenges into stepping stones for growth and brings us closer to a more fulfilling life aligned with our goals. 5. From "I want this" to "Why do I want this?" The transition from a simple "I want this" to a deeper question like "Why do I want this?" is a powerful exercise in self-awareness that transforms the way we deal with our desires. Often, our desires are covered by layers of insecurities or the search for approval from others, without us realizing it. When we allow ourselves to explore the reasons behind what we want, we can separate what is genuinely ours from what has been imposed by social standards, comparisons, or external expectations. This process helps us to make more conscious decisions that are aligned with who we really are, avoiding efforts and sacrifices in goals that, deep down, do not reflect our true essence. Imagine a person who is determined to buy a luxury car. Initially, they say, "I want this car." However, by repeatedly asking themselves why they want it, they begin to discover hidden motivations. The initial answer may be that the car makes her feel successful, but upon reflection, she may realize that this desire is tied to a need to impress others or to feel validated by an external standard of success. By understanding this, she can decide whether she really wants the car for personal and practical reasons, such as comfort or performance, or whether she is pursuing something that does not reflect her values and priorities. This exercise prevents her from wasting resources, energy, and time on something that may not bring her the satisfaction she expected. Another example is someone who wants to achieve a leadership position in her company. At first, this person may think, "I want to be the boss because it is a sign of career advancement." But when she asks herself why she really wants this goal, she may discover that she is pursuing this goal out of fear of being seen as incapable, or because she believes she has to live up to her family's expectations. Upon further reflection, she may realize that leadership does not align with her passions or abilities, and that she would prefer a career path that values other skills. This insight allows her to align her career with what truly matters to her, rather than following a script that is not hers. This exercise in self-inquiry transforms our relationship with desires and helps us find the root of our motivations. It allows us to make more conscious choices, aligned with our true values and goals. By looking within, we develop clarity that protects us from making impulsive decisions or decisions based on external factors that do not reflect our deepest needs. Asking ourselves, "Why do I want this?" is an act of courage and self-love, as it requires us to face truths that we often prefer to ignore. However, it is this clarity that gives us the power to live a more authentic, coherent, and fulfilling life. 6. From yes or no to there's a creative alternative. A yes or no mindset can be limiting and often prevents us from exploring creative and innovative solutions. Life is rarely so linear, so divided between absolute choices. Many of the challenges we face require more than binary answers. They require reflection, imagination, and a willingness to go off the beaten path to find alternatives that balance interests and needs. By thinking more openly and creatively, you may discover that there are countless possibilities in between the extremes, many of which are more satisfying and effective than the seemingly obvious choices. For example, imagine a situation in which a young person wants to go on a trip, but his parents say he can't because they need his help around the house. Under a yes or no mindset, he would either accept the prohibition as final and give up on the idea or engage in direct confrontation to insist that he should go. However, by adopting the "is there a creative alternative" mindset, he could propose a compromise that benefits both parties. Perhaps he or she will commit to helping with all the tasks before he or she leaves, or arrange a date when his or her responsibilities are reduced. In this way, he or she will create a solution that will meet his or her needs and those of his or her family, without compromising on his or her goals. Another example is in the workplace. Suppose you are leading a project and want to implement an innovative idea, but your boss says no, saying there is no budget for it. Faced with this response, many people would simply give up, taking the no as a definitive answer. However, when looking for a creative alternative, you could think of ways to adjust the proposal to make it more affordable, such as suggesting external partnerships, reducing costs in other areas, or even breaking the project into smaller phases to spread the costs over time. This approach shows initiative and flexibility, characteristics that can transform an initial rejection into an opportunity for growth and learning. The mindset of exploring creative alternatives invites us to expand our vision, to question whether what we have been presented with really represents all the options available. Often, the limitation lies in how we see the situation, not in the situation itself. By abandoning the dichotomous yes or no thinking, we realize that the world is full of nuances and possibilities that we have not yet considered. This does not mean ignoring obstacles, but recognizing that they can be overcome or circumvented with different strategies. This type of thinking also promotes healthier and more dynamic relationships. Instead of getting bogged down in arguments about who is right or wrong, the focus shifts to how to find solutions that serve everyone involved. This approach also enhances creativity, as it encourages us to think outside the box, challenge the norms, and explore alternative paths. Ultimately, the ability to seek alternatives is a powerful skill that makes us more resilient, adaptable, and able to face life's challenges with confidence. It teaches us that the answers are not always in the obvious, but often hidden in a territory that we only explore when we allow ourselves to think differently. It is in this space between yes and no that true innovation happens, and where we find the solutions that can transform our reality. 7. From "I wish it were different" to "what can I do today?" When we wish something in our lives were different, it's natural to get lost in thoughts about how things could be better or how ideal a sudden, significant change would be. However, getting caught up in wishing things were different doesn't transform the situation. This attitude, understandable as it may be, often leaves us in a passive position, where we focus on what's missing, what's out of our reach, or what depends on external factors. The true power of transformation lies in shifting this mindset to something more practical and empowering. Asking, "What can I do today?" This simple question redirects our focus to what's within our reach, to what can be done now, even on a small scale, and puts us in control of our own progress. Small daily actions, repeated consistently, have an impressive cumulative impact. The key is to identify the smallest possible step, something that is achievable and fits into the reality of the moment. It is through the repetition of small, seemingly insignificant gestures that lasting and profound changes are created. Turning dreams into reality does not require grandiose movements right away, but rather the willingness to start, even if humbly, with what is available today. For example, imagine a person who is dissatisfied with their physical health. They want to be in better shape, but feel unmotivated when they think about the gap between their current situation and the ideal they would like to achieve. They may spend days or even weeks lamenting their lack of energy, weight gain, or lack of an exercise routine. However, by shifting their mindset to "what can I do today?" they begin to realize that they do not need to transform their entire life at once. Perhaps they can start with a 15-minute walk, replace a less healthy meal with something more nutritious, or simply stretch their body for a few minutes when they wake up. These actions, small in themselves, add up to a powerful effect over time. By the end of a month, the 15-minute daily walk may have become a regular exercise habit, and simply changing one meal could be the start of a more balanced diet. Another example occurs in the financial context. Someone facing financial difficulties can often feel paralyzed when thinking about the extent of their debts or how much they would like their situation to be different. Feelings of guilt or regret about the past can dominate the mind, preventing any concrete initiative. However, by shifting the focus to "what can I do today?" the person begins to find solutions within their current reality. It can be something as simple as reviewing the month's expenses to identify small cuts, starting to save a symbolic amount, such as a few reis, or seeking to learn about financial education with free content available on the internet. Even seemingly small actions, such as organizing your accounts, can create a domino effect, giving you more clarity and control over the situation. This change in mindset, from passive desire to proactive action, not only creates more tangible results, but also transforms the way we perceive our own challenges. When we look at what we can do in the present, we stop focusing on what we cannot control and become active participants in our own story. It is a process that empowers us, showing us that the power of change is in our hands, and that no matter how small the step we take today, it can be the beginning of something great in the future. The secret is not in great instant revolutions, but in building consistent habits, which, like bricks in a wall, form a solid foundation for any transformation. 8. From "it's already been done" to "I can do it too." The idea that something has already been done often serves as a psychological obstacle that prevents us from taking action, creating or pursuing our goals. When we think that everything we want to achieve has already been tried or achieved by someone else, we can feel that there is no more room for us, as if our effort has no value compared to what already exists. This perspective, however, overlooks an essential fact. What has already been done does not negate the possibility that you can do it too, in a way that is genuine and meaningful to you and others. Originality, while often seen as the ultimate ideal, is vastly overrated. What really matters is the authenticity, the effort, and the usefulness of what we do. The world is full of opportunities to transform the ordinary into something extraordinary simply by putting your own stamp and passion on it. Imagine, for example, a person who wants to open a coffee shop but hesitates because there are so many other similar establishments in town. They might think, "It's already been done. There's nothing new I can bring." This kind of thinking limits their possibilities before they even start. But when they shift their mindset to "I can do it too," they realize that while there are many coffee shops out there, none will be exactly like what they envision. Their coffee shop might stand out with a welcoming atmosphere, personalized service, or a menu that reflects their preferences and culture. Maybe they decide to host weekly events, like live music nights or book gatherings, something that creates a unique connection with their customers. Even in a competitive market, their authentic vision can transform a business that seems like more of the same into something that becomes special and meaningful to others. Another example can be found in academic or professional life. Think of someone who has always wanted to write a book but feels discouraged because they believe that all the great stories have already been told. They think, "There are already millions of books out there. What could I possibly write that would be truly new?" This mindset prevents him from even beginning the creative process. However, by adopting the mindset of "I can do it too," he realizes that his story, his worldview, and his experiences are unique. Even if the central idea of his book has already been explored, the way he approaches the characters, dialogues, or themes will be uniquely his. Each person has a different way of observing and interpreting the world, and it is this uniqueness that makes the work meaningful and worthy of being shared. When he finishes the book, he discovers that his story, in addition to bringing personal fulfillment, can impact readers who identify with his point of view. When we change the mindset from "it's been done" to "I can do it too," we understand that the value of what we create is not necessarily in its novelty, but in the way it reflects who we are and how it can benefit or touch others. Authenticity is what transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, and personal effort is what gives meaning to each achievement. The world does not need more perfect and original ideas. It needs people who dare to act and make a difference, even in areas that have already been explored. The simple act of creating or accomplishing something with dedication and purpose can inspire and transform both the creator and those who have the opportunity to experience the result. 9. From another obstacle to another challenge to grow. Changing the way we view obstacles can completely transform the way we live and face the difficulties of everyday life. When we see an obstacle as an insurmountable problem, it quickly becomes an emotional and mental burden, further hindering our ability to act and find solutions. However, when we redefine these obstacles as challenges, we begin to see them as opportunities for learning, growth, and overcoming. This change in perspective is not only an exercise in positive thinking, but an invitation to develop resilience, creativity, and determination. It is in the most difficult moments that we have the chance to prove to ourselves how capable we are of persisting when something really matters. Imagine a person who is studying for a competitive exam or a difficult test. She's faced with a subject that she finds extremely difficult, such as advanced mathematics or complex legal concepts. Her initial reaction may be one of discouragement and frustration, thinking, "Another obstacle. Why does this have to be so hard?" This type of thinking can easily lead to procrastination or even abandonment of the goal. However, by shifting her focus to another challenge to grow, she recognizes that this moment is an opportunity to hone her skills and develop the patience and discipline needed to tackle something difficult. By persisting, seeking help from teachers, studying in groups, or accessing supplementary materials, she not only overcomes the material but also becomes more confident in her ability to face future challenges. Each small step forward reinforces the idea that challenges exist to make us stronger, not to paralyze us. Another example can be found in situations in the workplace. Think of someone who has recently been promoted and is now responsible for leading a team. Within the first few months, conflicts arise between team members and difficulties in delivering the expected results. The immediate reaction might be, "Another obstacle. Why can't things just flow smoothly?" This thinking fuels stress and pessimism, making the challenge even more exhausting. However, by adopting the mindset of another challenge to grow, this person begins to see these problems as an opportunity to become a more effective leader. By developing conflict management skills, improving their communication with the team, and finding creative ways to motivate their colleagues, they not only solve the difficulties of the moment, but also acquire valuable skills that will strengthen their career in the long term. Challenges, when viewed in this light, cease to be final barriers and become stepping stones to growth. They are a test of our determination and how much we are willing to fight for what we really want. If something is important to us, we will always find a way to persist and seek solutions, even when they seem distant or difficult. On the other hand, if we don't care enough, any obstacle will be enough of a reason to give up. This is the difference between letting difficulties define us or using them as tools to shape us. Facing life with this perspective does not mean ignoring challenges or underestimating them. It is natural for obstacles to cause us discomfort or fear at first. But, when we decide to see them as opportunities, we assume a more active and resilient stance. We recognize that, even if the solution is not immediate, it exists and can be found with effort, creativity, and patience. Thus, each challenge overcome becomes proof of our ability, a reminder that we are stronger than we imagine and a solid foundation for facing the next chapters of our journey. And last but not least, 10 dash. From, "I've already invested too much in this," to "It's time to start over." The idea of being stuck in something just because you've already invested a lot of time, energy, or resources is a mental trap known as sunk cost. This way of thinking can be paralyzing, causing us to continue in situations that, deep down, don't bring us happiness or fulfillment, just because we feel that abandoning what we've already invested would be a waste. However, it takes courage and clarity to recognize that sometimes starting over is the only way to find a path that is truly aligned with our desires, values, and purpose. Insisting on something that no longer makes sense costs more than simply changing direction, because the time we continue to invest in an unhappy situation will never be recovered. Imagine someone who is in a relationship that has long since ceased to be healthy or satisfying. Despite no longer feeling happy, this person continues to invest in a relationship because they have already dedicated many years, overcome many challenges, and built a history with their partner. She believes that giving up would be throwing away everything she has experienced, and the idea of starting over seems scary and full of uncertainty. However, upon deep reflection, she realizes that staying in this situation is draining her energy and limiting her potential to find a more fulfilling life. When she decides to start over, she realizes that, although the process of separation is painful, letting go of what did not make her happy was liberating. The time spent was not in vain, as it brought learning and maturity, but insisting on something that no longer makes sense would be a much greater burden to carry. Another example can be found in situations in the workplace. Think of someone who has recently been promoted and is now responsible for leading a team. Within the first few months, conflicts arise between team members and difficulties in delivering the expected results. The immediate reaction might be, "Another obstacle. Why can't things just flow smoothly?" This thinking fuels stress and pessimism, making the challenge even more exhausting. However, by adopting the mindset of another challenge to grow, this person begins to see these problems as an opportunity to become a more effective leader. By developing conflict management skills, improving their communication with the team, and finding creative ways to motivate their colleagues, they not only solve the difficulties of the moment, but also acquire valuable skills that will strengthen their career in the long term. Challenges, when viewed in this light, cease to be final barriers and become stepping stones to growth. They are a test of our determination and how much we are willing to fight for what we really want. If something is important to us, we will always find a way to persist and seek solutions, even when they seem distant or difficult. On the other hand, if we don't care enough, any obstacle will be enough of a reason to give up. This is the difference between letting difficulties define us or using them as tools to shape us. Facing life with this perspective does not mean ignoring challenges or underestimating them. It is natural for obstacles to cause us discomfort or fear at first. But, when we decide to see them as opportunities, we assume a more active and resilient stance. We recognize that, even if the solution is not immediate, it exists and can be found with effort, creativity, and patience. Thus, each challenge overcome becomes proof of our ability, a reminder that we are stronger than we imagine and a solid foundation for facing the next chapters of our journey. And last but not least, 10 From, "I've already invested too much in this," to "It's time to start over." The idea of being stuck in something just because you've already invested a lot of time, energy, or resources is a mental trap known as sunk cost. This way of thinking can be paralyzing, causing us to continue in situations that, deep down, don't bring us happiness or fulfillment, just because we feel that abandoning what we've already invested would be a waste. However, it takes courage and clarity to recognize that sometimes starting over is the only way to find a path that is truly aligned with our desires, values, and purpose. Insisting on something that no longer makes sense costs more than simply changing direction, because the time we continue to invest in an unhappy situation will never be recovered. Imagine someone who is in a relationship that has long since ceased to be healthy or satisfying. Despite no longer feeling happy, this person continues to invest in a relationship because they have already dedicated many years, overcome many challenges, and built a history with their partner. She believes that giving up would be throwing away everything she has experienced, and the idea of starting over seems scary and full of uncertainty. However, upon deep reflection, she realizes that staying in this situation is draining her energy and limiting her potential to find a more fulfilling life. When she decides to start over, she realizes that, although the process of separation is painful, letting go of what did not make her happy was liberating. The time spent was not in vain, as it brought learning and maturity, but insisting on something that no longer makes sense would be a much greater burden to carry.